Okay, today we're diving into something that's going to completely change how you create AI images. We're looking at a guide that helps you go from those frustrating, kind of random results to making intentional, cinematic art that looks like it's straight out of a movie. Let's get right into it. So, let's kick things off with a question that I am sure every single person using AI has asked themselves at some point. You've got this amazing, crystal clear idea in your head, but what the AI spits out just feels random, you know? It's all over the place, inconsistent, and honestly a little generic. It's a huge frustration. And this right here, this says it all. Over here, you've got the incredible, specific vision you're trying to create, and then over here, well, that's the reality you often get from the AI. It kind of looks like a cheap copy. It just doesn't have the right mood or the lighting. It just doesn't have the feeling you were going for. So the big question is, how do we fix that?
Well, that brings us right into our first section, the random results problem. But here's the good news, and this is really important. This isn't a flaw in the AI. It's a problem with how we're approaching it, and it's totally solvable.
Here it is. This is the key idea from the guide. The thing that's missing isn't some secret prompt or a better AI model. It's that we're not giving it clear visual direction. You've got to remember, the AI is just a tool, and it's waiting for very specific instructions. We just have to learn how to give them. So, if the problem is a lack of direction, how do we get better at giving it? Well, the answer is in our next section. We need to start thinking like a cinematographer. And what that really means is we have to shift our focus from just describing what's in the picture to defining how that picture should look and feel. The guide calls this a cinematic aesthetic, and it's not some random accident. It's a visual style that's built from really deliberate choices. Think about it. Every amazing shot you've ever seen in a movie was carefully constructed, piece by piece, to make you feel a certain way. So what are those pieces? Well, the guide boils it all down to these 4 core components. You've got color, which totally sets the emotional tone. Then there's lighting, which carves out the scene with light and shadow. Third is contrast, which controls the visual intensity. And finally, you have mood. That's the overall feeling you get when you mix the first 3 together. If you can learn to control these 4 things, you can control the AI. All right, so theory is one thing, but let's see how this stuff actually works when you're making an image. In this next section, we're going to take apart a specific cinematic style from the guide to see exactly how those 4 components come together to create something really powerful. So for our case study, we're going to look at what the guide calls the burnt amber crime look. I mean, just from the name alone, you can already start to feel it, can't you? It sounds warm, a little tense, perfect for a gritty crime drama. First up, let's talk about the color. What's so great here is how much emotional detail is in these words. We're not just saying brown or orange. We're using really specific things like burnt amber, which gives you that mix of warmth and danger. Deep brown, to make it feel serious, and muted gold for a little hint of corruption or something valuable. That level of detail gives the AI emotional direction, not just color information. And this quote from the guide just nails the why behind it all. It's a warm, tension-driven aesthetic. See, that warmth pulls you into the story, but the tension keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's made for morally complex storytelling. Figuring out the narrative purpose first is what helps you pick the right visual style. Now this is where it all comes together. Look at how those ideas we just talked about translate directly into prompt keywords the AI can understand. You've got the colors right there, the lighting is specified as soft diffuse light, the contrast is subtle, and the mood is spelled out. This is how you take an idea and make it machine readable. This table is basically the recipe that ties it all together, showing how those 4 components work as a team. And notice how they interact with each other. The warm, diffused lighting feels intimate, right? But the deep but controlled shadows add a sense of mystery. The low to moderate contrast keeps it feeling realistic, which reinforces that whole mood of tension and moral complexity. When you define each part like this, you get a consistent feeling, not just a consistent look. Okay, so we've seen how to take a style apart. Now let's talk about how you can build your own creations. This next section gives you a super simple 6-step workflow that you can use for pretty much any cinematic style you can dream up. It's a straightforward process, just 6 steps. First, pick just one style to focus on. Then test its base prompt all by itself to see what it does. After that, you add your subject and your scene. Then you can use specific prompts for portrait or wide shots to get the framing right. From there, you just make little tweaks to refine it. And once you have something that works, you save that prompt. It's a simple, methodical way to build up your own library of styles you can trust. When you start working this way, it leads to something much bigger than just making better-looking images. It's really about finding and developing your own unique creative style. It's about unlocking your visual voice. This is probably my favorite quote in the whole guide. Because here's the point. The goal isn't just to get the AI to make a pretty picture for you. The goal is to train yourself to think visually, to actually understand the language of color and light, and to make your own intentional artistic choices.
Ultimately, this approach totally changes your role in the creative process. You're no longer just an operator typing words into a box and hoping for the best. You're the director. You're the cinematographer. The choices you make about the color, the light, the mood, that's what puts meaning into the image. That's what tells the story. You're the one in control.
So, that leaves us with one last really exciting question. Now that you have this new way of thinking about creating, what visual world, what story, what feeling are you going to bring to life first?